Hey there, and welcome. You ever get the feeling there's this secret code hidden in plain sight all around us? Well, there is. It's baked into every single word you speak and write, and today we're gonna crack it. I mean, it sounds simple enough, right? A word is a word. We use them all the time. But the truth is, if you really stop and think about it, words are so much more complex and fascinating than they first appear. So let's take a word like uncomfortable. You see, it's not just one big chunk of meaning. Nope. It's actually built from three separate pieces, and each one has its own specific job. And that right there, that's the secret we're about to unlock together. All right, so to really get how words are put together, we have to start with the absolute smallest pieces. You got to think of them like, well, like the atoms of our language. And that tiny fundamental building block, it has a name. It's called a morpheme. It's the smallest possible unit of language that still has meaning. And I love this Lego brick analogy because it's spot on. You can't break a Lego down any further and still have it be a Lego, right? It's the absolute core piece. Okay, check this out, because this is where it gets really cool. So you see the word dogs, one word, right? But it's actually got two morphemes inside. You've got dog, the animal, and then that little S on the end, which carries the entire meaning of more than one. Same goes for walked. You've got the action, walk, and then that little ed piece that tells you it happened in the past. Two morphemes, one word. All right, so we've got these language Legos, these morphemes, but here's the thing. They're not all the same. Some are perfectly happy to be on their own, while others, well, they're a little clingy. They need to be attached to something else to work. And this slide just lays it out perfectly. There are two main families here. First, you have your free morphemes. Think of them as the independent ones. Words like book, go, fast, they're totally fine on their own. Then you've got the bound morphemes. These are the attachments, like the un prefix or the ment suffix. They have meaning for sure, but they can't stand alone. They need to be attached to another word. So the big question is, how do these pieces actually come together to build something? This is where we get to be language architects. Let's dive in and see how these free and bound morphemes snap together to create brand new words. And honestly, the process is pretty straightforward. You start with a core piece, what we call a root morpheme, like comfort. Then you grab an affix, in this case the suffix able, and snap it on. And boom, just like that, a whole new word is born, comfortable. Now, in English, we mostly deal with two main kinds of these affixes. If it snaps onto the beginning of a word, like un in unkind, we call that a prefix. Pretty easy to remember, right? Pre means before. And if it goes on the end, like ment in movement, that's a suffix. It really is as simple as that. And this whole process, which is called affixation, isn't just some neat little language trick. It is, without a doubt, the #1 way that new words get created in the English language. It's incredibly powerful. Okay, but these attachments, these affixes, they do way more than just make words longer. They each have a very specific job, and they can totally change what a word does or even what it fundamentally means. And this is a really important distinction to get. On one hand, you have inflectional morphemes. Think of these as the grammar helpers. They just tweak a word for grammar, like adding an S to make boy into boys or an ed to make walk into walked. The word's core job stays the same. But then, you have derivative morphemes. These guys are the real game changers. They derive a totally new word, and they can even change its job entirely, like turning teach, a verb, into teacher, a noun. And man, are they versatile. Look at this. They can take a noun like medicine and, with a little owl suffix, turn it into an adjective, medicinal. Or they can keep the word class the same, but completely flip the meaning on its head. Honest becomes its total opposite, dishonest. They are literally vocabulary building machines. Okay, so we've seen how words get built, piece by piece, like a machine. But here's the twist. Just knowing the parts of a word doesn't always tell you what it really means out in the wild. Because a word's structure is only half the story. The other half, well, that's all about context. And that brings us to this idea of pragmatics. Basically, it's the study of how context shapes meaning. It's the understanding that, it's not just what you say, but where you say it, when you say it, and why you say it that gives a word its true power. Let's look at a super clear example. The sick man has been referred to hospital. Here, the word sick means, well, sick, ill, not feeling well. The context of the hospital makes that meaning 100% clear.
But now, watch this. It's the exact same word, sick, but the context, the food, the bed, it completely changes the meaning. Here, sick means to vomit. That is pragmatics in action, right there. Context is absolutely king.
So, as we start to pull all this together, here's the big takeaway. This isn't just some dry academic stuff. This secret code we've been talking about, it's a system you use all day, every day, probably without even realizing it. So, let's do a quick recap of the code we've just cracked. First, we learned that words are built from those atoms of meaning called morphemes. Second, we use those little attachments, affixes, to tweak old words and build brand new ones. And finally, and this is so important, a word's dictionary definition is just the beginning. Its real meaning is always shaped by the context it's in. So, what this all means is that you're not just a passive user of language, you're an architect. And knowing this code, it does more than just help you win a trivia night. It makes you a more precise writer, a sharper reader, and just a way more effective communicator. So the only question left is, now that you know the code, what are you going to build?